There's a moment most people know but almost nobody talks about. You finally have a stretch of time with nothing in it. No one needing you, nothing scheduled. The house is quiet. And instead of feeling relief, you feel this creeping discomfort. Like the silence has weight. Like something's wrong with it. So within about 4 minutes, you reach for your phone.
Not because there's anything there. You already checked. But because sitting in that quiet without input felt like falling. Like you were supposed to be doing something. Like stillness itself was a kind of failure. Here's the thing. Neuroscientists found that social isolation activates the same neural circuits as physical pain. The brain doesn't distinguish clearly between being alone and being in danger. That's not a metaphor. That's the same circuitry, the same signal firing. I thought that reaction was just a personal defect. Turned out it's nearly everyone. Every person I've talked to about this recognized it immediately. The discomfort, the reaching, the filling. But here's what's actually happening underneath that, and this is where it gets interesting. The belief doing the real damage isn't, "I hate being alone." It's quieter than that. It's if I were comfortable alone, I wouldn't feel this way. So either something's wrong with me, or I just keep filling the silence fast enough that I never have to find out. Eric Fromm wrote that modern humans have more freedom than any generation before them, and they're more anxious than ever, because freedom requires you to sit with yourself. And most of us were never taught how to do that. Nobody handed us silence as a resource. We got it as punishment, as a warning, or as something that needed to be immediately replaced with productivity. In the next few minutes, I want to show you exactly why solitude feels the way it does, what's actually driving it. And one thing you can start today that changes the relationship, not through motivation, through mechanics. Here's what the experience actually looks like, broken down honestly. The surface feeling is restlessness. That's what you'd say if someone asked. I just feel unsettled when there's nothing going on. Underneath that, and this is the layer most people never name, is distrust. Not of the silence, of yourself. Because when the noise stops, things come up. Old decisions, conversations you replayed too many times, versions of yourself you never fully settled accounts with. And there's this quiet question that comes with it, one most people would never say out loud. What if I sit with myself and find out there's not much there? So the behavior makes complete sense. You fill it, every time. Phone, show, background noise, anything. Not because you're weak, because you're managing something real. The belief driving this is specific. You need external input to feel okay. That without stimulation, without something coming in, you start to disappear a little. And that belief wasn't chosen, it was shaped. In a world that stopped giving you silence somewhere around age 8 and never gave it back. Here's the part that usually gets skipped. The reason you haven't been able to sit comfortably alone isn't character. It's design. Your nervous system was built in an environment that never stopped stimulating it. It was never given silence as neutral. It learned silence as a vacuum, as something wrong, something to fix, something that meant you weren't where you should be. You didn't fail to develop tolerance for silence. You were never given the conditions to develop it. Picture a Sunday afternoon. The week's done. You've got a few unstructured hours. You sit down with nothing specific to do. For minutes in, you've opened an app. Not because anything interesting is there, but because sitting there with no input felt like standing still while everyone else was moving. You closed it. Felt the same hollow thing you opened it to escape. Maybe worse. What was actually happening? Your nervous system read the absence of stimulation as a signal to scan for threats. It's a program running correctly, just one that hasn't been updated since a time when stillness actually preceded danger. The restlessness isn't you being undisciplined. It's biology doing its job in the wrong context. Musashi spent years in near-complete solitude before his most defining work. Not as suffering, as practice. He wrote that a man who cannot sit with himself quietly cannot be trusted when things get loud. Not because isolation builds strength, because the man who's never heard himself clearly in silence will make every major decision while distracted. Most people are making all of their decisions while distracted, all the time. The honest answer is that solitude isn't a preference. It's a skill. And like every skill, it requires exposure, not insight. You don't read your way into it. You don't understand your way into it. You sit with it, repeatedly, until your system stops treating quiet like a threat. 3 things. Clean and practical. First, stop treating silence as empty time, not productive silence. Not meditation with a goal attached. Just unstructured time with nothing to optimize. The moment you turn it into a task, you've already missed what it's offering. Second, start with 10 minutes today. No phone, no background noise, no agenda. You're not trying to feel peaceful. You're not aiming for anything. You're just staying in the discomfort without running from it. That's the whole practice. That's it. Third, know what you're walking into. The first several times you try this, it will feel wrong. Uncomfortable in a way that has an edge to it. Restless. Pointless. That's not failure. That's withdrawal. Your nervous system recalibrating. What you're actually doing is teaching it that stillness is safe. That quiet is not a vacuum. That you are not running from anything. That recalibration doesn't happen through a breakthrough moment. It happens through repetition. Small doses of silence, more often, until your system stops treating it as danger. Most people will go their whole lives never knowing what they actually think, because they never stop long enough to listen. Solitude isn't loneliness. It is an emptiness. It's the one condition where the noise stops being louder than you are. The question isn't whether you can handle being alone. It's whether you've ever actually tried.